Well, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this? There are all kinds of things that you get invited to. Why is this one that you wanted to be at?
I'm a part of it. You have to remember, you fight for what concerns you. And now that I'm 86 years old, I have to be concerned about what's best for us seniors.
Isn't it funny, Dr. Elders, that you'll come to a conference like this, and there's so many well-intentioned people
Yes.
here, everywhere from the 25-year-old
Yes.
yoga instructor we talked to up to the 40-year-old head of the retirement community.
Yes.
But they know, but they don't really know. What is it like to age in America?
Well, I think, aging in America is not, we don't do it as well as we could. We have more and more of us are growing older, but our infrastructure is not set up to accommodate us. And we look at our housing, we look at our lighting, we look at our streets, we look at our grocery stores, we look at our transportation. It's really not set up. It's set up to keep us isolated in our children's home, and they don't. I won't say they don't want us there. They don't. They feel an obligation to take care of us, but we don't want to be there either. And I always said, the last place I want to be, and I tell my children, I do not want to go and live with you. They said, but we don't want to throw you away. They think putting you in a nursing home is throwing you away. But putting me in a nursing home is better than going to their house. At least I'll have somebody to talk with.
Yeah.
They may be chattering about the same thing all day, every day, but it's better to chatter about the same thing all day, every day than to chatter about nothing.
It wasn't that long ago that if someone your age would show up anywhere,
That's right.
we would sit down and go, oh, isn't this marvelous? How wonderful. But look at you. You fly from event to event to event. You're making speeches. You're affecting policy change. You have purpose. And you are making a difference still. And how old did you say you were?
86.
This is remarkable, isn't it?
Well, I try to make change, but I tell my husband all the time, who's 87, I said, I've done everything I need to do and want to do. Let somebody else take over. But until they do, I'll do what I can. I'll use whatever wisdom I have that people want, and I feel good when I do it.
What are the biggest fears you have when you're 86?
Oh, I think the biggest fears that I have when I'm 86, that I would end up being crippled, disabled, and dependent and in pain. I think that would be my worst fear. I always hope that when I go, I would really like to go like my mother. Just don't wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
In my sleep or something.
So isn't that interesting on several levels? One, we always talk about squaring the curve.
Yes.
Living as long and as well as you can, and then one day it's just done.
Yes.
And we're trying to move towards that through wellness and activity and purpose. And it seems for some, we're getting there.
And I think that that's wonderful. I would just like to go and do everything. They always say everything you've done before, you can do today. You can still do everything you've always done.
And the other part of that is that, you say, well, I'm worried about, maybe being disabled or losing mental faculties.
Yes.
So you can either sit home afraid that something will happen if you go out the door.
Right.
Or you can you say yes to almost everything.
Well, because I feel I want to go out and do everything I can as long as I can. And when I can't, I can. That's,
Would a 45-year-old Joycelyn Elders be surprised by the 86-year-old version?
you know, I'm not sure whether the 46-year-old Joycelyn Elders would be surprised. I was an outspoken, aggressive fighter then. I'm most outspoken, aggressive, and fighting now.
That's really wonderful. From the amazing seat that you've had in life, what can we learn from what you've seen? What are the most important points?
Yeah, I think the most important thing that I would like to leave and that we could learn is that I would like to have us know that we do too little too late. We've got to start early, impressing on our young people all the things that they can do, that they can really do whatever they choose to do, and we've got to educate them and get them ready so they can ready to take on the world and make a change and make a difference. To me, that's what it's all about. And never fear failure. But the only time you can't afford to fail is the last time you try. So go out and try. So you fail. But if you don't try, that's worse. To me, the only thing that's worse than failure is never trying. So even when I had difficulty changing maybe many of our politicians' minds, I'm not saying that I was always right, but even if I had difficulty, I feel that I tried. And if I tried and failed, I still feel I gave it my best shot. Always do your best. That's good enough.
One thing today that I think is different than in the past is I think people in general have lost a bit of faith in our politicians and our government. Is it worse than it's been? Is this just part of how it goes? Or are you appalled or not surprised?
No, I'm appalled at what's going on with our government today. I really think that maybe it's because I didn't know more, is that I think our politicians in the past were statesmen. I feel that they were honest and they were really trying and that they were doing their best for the good of America. They didn't always agree, but that's all right. In fact, to argue, fuss, fight, and I always say, it's all right if we go in and fight until we're bloody, as long as we come out with the best decision that we could have.
You've been through so much. You've faced obstacles. If people don't know much about your background, they should look you up because your story is inspiring. You are an amazing person. And to still have you here fighting for our futures, fighting for us to age in a
gracefully,
better way.
Yes.
It's really remarkable. When you look back over things, what could you say? What is the moral of your story? What can we learn from Joycelyn Elders?
I think the thing that we could learn from me, and I really learned it from my mother, who only had an 8th grade education, is one of the things she always said: if you want to get out of the cotton patch, you've got to get something in your head. So that is, and what she meant was trying to get a good education. And she said, even though you weren't the best in math, do your best. That's good enough. The other thing she always said is always tell the truth. She says, the day you see the truth and cease to speak is the day you begin to die. And I think everybody knows that Joycelyn Elders probably will a long time, because I'm always speaking out about the things that I see that, even if you aren't always right, that's all right. If you're wrong, admit you're wrong and go ahead. And The other thing I think is to say that we have to always see and speak out on things we see and know need to be changed, and we can't throw away our tomorrows worrying about yesterday.
You're right on most things, but you've made a big mistake. You've forgotten that as you age, you're supposed to decline. And you're supposed to become a little addled and be confused. Unfortunately, you still see with clarity.
Oh, what?
And speak with elegance and cut to the core of things that really matter. Age seems to indeed be a virtue that we don't appreciate the way we should.
Thank you for saying that. And I agree that we don't appreciate our aging population. We don't appreciate the wisdom that they have. We feel that they're somehow a bother or in the way. But I think that once we begin to appreciate all the things that they have to offer, and I think we're probably better because we have a tsunami of us coming along. And if we aren't appreciated, cared for, and allowed to do the things we can do to make this country better, I think we might fail.
We're the only ones unencumbered by ulterior motive.
Yes, that's right.
Well, thank you for doing what you do. We greatly, greatly appreciate, admire, and are grateful that you're still out there doing it for us.
Oh, thank you. Well, I believe in that old Greek saying that a society grows great when old men and old women plant trees under whose shade they know they'll never sit. So I'm trying to plant trees for the bright young people of the future to sit under.